AITA for not wanting to continue supporting my daughter's 12F gymnastics training. When my daughter was young, we introduced her to gymnastics. She was totally hooked and kept asking for more and more lessons. We encouraged her, thinking she will eventually lose interest. Now she is 12, training 20 hours a week, spending weekends after weekends competing at high-level competitions. Problem is, she is 5'7" already and still growing. She is starting to have ambition for D1 scholarship, or even Olympics. That makes me very worried. Being 5'7" basically kills her chance of going to the Olympics. D1 gymnastics scholarship is already rare. The odds of her getting one with her height is even more rare. It makes me feel bad that our daughter is very dedicated. She's almost always the first one at the gym and the last one to leave. She watches replays of her routine on our drive to training, turns down social events because she needs to train, does extra conditioning at home. Yet I cannot justify blowing thousands of dollars a year and hundreds of hours in time every year to gamble on something with so little chance of success. All the hours spent at her training, driving her to competition, is already causing our family life to suffer. She under-rotates her skills because of her height, and gets injured more frequently than others. Her academics are suffering because of her gymnastics commitment. Her life is going in the wrong direction because of gymnastics. The Band-Aid is better ripped off earlier than later. My husband agrees. I broke the news to my daughter. Frankly, it breaks my heart to tell her to give up something she has worked so hard for. I told her I know she is a hard worker. She would get much better reward if she channels her hard work elsewhere, like in school, or another sport. Hell, she plays tennis with the family only casually. Yet she was able to win a few U12 tournaments locally. If that's not talent, I don't know what is. Needless to say, she did not take that well. She cried and cried and cried, locking herself in her room, refusing to eat, saying maybe if she doesn't eat, she will become shorter. I told her over and over that I love her, and I just want the best for her, but she wouldn't have any of it. I tried to reason with her, telling her chasing a dream is a privilege, not a right. No use. My husband has now softened, even though we used to have an agreement. Our family is now phoning us to try to persuade us to let her continue training, even offering support for training cost and pickup drop-offs. If she has the right body type to be an elite gymnast, or if she is tall like she is, but is not struggling because of her height, I would support her unconditionally. However, that is not the case. Sometimes I feel like giving in, but to think it through, I was the person who drove her to training and competition. I am the breadwinner who paid for her training. It should be my right to call it off, especially as a parent. Help me out, Reddit. Am I the wrongs? Can you taper off? 20 hours a week, frequent injuries, no social life, and grades not as good as they could be are super valid reasons to want her to focus her energy in other places too. I don't get why her coaches haven't talked to her about this situation. If her height is truly something that leaves her out of competition and causes injuries, they should be the ones talking to her. Perhaps you could talk to them? I'm sure they must have dealt with this before and could at least give advice. NTA. Mom of D1 scholarship athlete. The most important thing you wrote is your daughter is getting injured. Truly. That should be it. Gymnastics is very hard on your body even if you don't have specific injuries. The daily wear and tear means a 18-year-old is barely able to make it through 4 years of competition. Watch a few NCAA meets. A few schools look like their athletes are put together with duct tape. If your daughter has injuries like a sprained ankle or a pulled hamstring at 12, it will never fully heal. Gymnastics is 20 hours a week, 51 weeks a year. Then there are the really scary injuries that start to happen around growth spurts. Typically puberty, concussions, herniated discs, broken everything feet, elbows, hands, sometimes worse. That being said, there are sports that transition nicely from gymnastics. One of the girls from our gym had chronic back pain and finally quit in 10th grade. She picked up diving, D1 scholarship, SEC Rookie of the Year in her sport. Another girl who broke her elbow ended up in pole vaulting and competes in college. My youngest did everything: gymnastics, theater, lax, poli-sci club. She is playing a sport at the club level in college. There are girls on her team who never played before and they have a blast. Yes, your daughter might hate you now, but you will never forgive yourself if she ends up unable to do basic things like jogging, or hiking, or even going on rides at Disney World because her passion is somehow more important than her health. NTA. I was a competitive figure skater and then I grew to be 5 feet 11. I loved it, but I transitioned to being a swimmer. Has she ever thought about diving? Edit. Why the down votes? I loved still competing in something while not injuring myself every single day. NTA. I was a gymnast. I get it. When she is calm you might try discussing diving with her, or trampoline. Both of those might be a fit with her height. They involve similar body mechanics and she might find them appealing. That level of training is so expensive. The other options are track and field, pole vaulting and/or hurdles. NTA. My mom is 5 feet 9 inches and she irreparably damaged her body doing gymnastics for 6+ years. She had to have knee surgery at age 21. I am 5 inches 11, and was always tall. At age 12 I was already 5 feet 8. In the 6th grade. My whole childhood I was mad that mom wouldn't put me on gymnastics. When I was a teenager she explained why and I can understand now. Perhaps you should show her studies about tall people and gymnastics? I'm on my phone but I'm sure they exist. I am 32 now and grateful to my mom for never putting me in gymnastics. She did put me in a few other sports though I never stuck with them. Edit. I forgot my actual age, lol. I just recently had a birthday. NTA. I don't understand all the YTAs here. Op has been really clear that it's financially difficult, that her daughter's grades are suffering, and then it feels challenging to spend all this money and time. If the daughter is willing to compromise and stand down from the excessive training and get her grades up, I would hope Op would be willing to consider it. InTA. All the YTA people are totally unrealistic. You're spending thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours and commenters are like, but she loves it. Her grades and social life are suffering and she's injuring herself and commenters are all, but she loves gymnastics. That's irrelevant. Parents are supposed to step in when necessary. Info. Have you talked with doctors and therapists? And have you had them explain things to her? NTA. Gymnastic is a sport where people can get seriously hurt. Your daughter is only 12. She needs guidance. Try to discuss it together with her coach and maybe a therapist to find the best course. But like others have said, probably switching to a different sport would be best. I played soccer, not even at a high level, and have long-lasting injuries from the training and competitions. I can't even imagine what it would be like in a sport like gymnastics. She's perfect for rhythmic gymnastics. They like them tall and lanky. Info. Did you discuss this with her coach or anyone knowledgeable about the sport? How does she do in competition? There are many people who derive a lot of value from being athletes and very few who go to the Olympics. I think you've made a serious mistake here by just telling your daughter, no more gymnastics, and offering her nothing in return. NTA. You are right. She's too tall to compete in the Olympics. Her body will be ravaged by injuries in adulthood. She's not putting time and energy into age-appropriate socializing. Relaxed time with the family. Academics are important. Does she plan to go to college? The money spent can go into savings for post-secondary education. Do you have other children? If so, how does this affect them? I would redirect her energy to another sport that's less damaging on her body. And really just for fun and a little competition. Not a central obsession in her life. As to the relatives who say they'd contribute to her gymnastics fees. Yeah, right. If they actually do, likely would be a drop in the bucket. NTA. My mom was like your daughter. A very talented and driven young gymnast who simply grew too tall to continue at a high level. It broke her little 13-year-old heart, but she went on to become a D1 All-American swimmer. She's 5 feet 10 inches, and while her height was a problem for gymnastics, it was an asset to her as a swimmer. She still enjoys swimming and competes at a pretty impressive level on a master's swim team. I hope your daughter finds another sport or extracurricular activity that she's passionate about. She's still so young and has so much life ahead of her. NTA. People are missing the fact that her grades are suffering as well as her social life, and she's inflicting herself more harm than her peers. What happens if she gets an injury at some point and has nothing to fall back on? BC. She never studied or took an interest with anything else. An education is just as important as a passion. I'd see how many down votes I get. If you're spending thousands of dollars for an activity that causes her to neglect her studies, then it's time to put it on pause. NTA. Her body will not be able to handle it when she continues growing. Lol. Forget about the financial investment of training. She'll eventually need surgery if she keeps going the way she is. However, you should treat her more gently and get her therapy. Her mindset is obviously not healthy, and if you aren't careful she could end up overtraining or W.N.Ed. From someone that's seen it happen to friends. Overtraining syndrome is a real thing and a real danger to young women. NTA. For the sentiment. But YTA for the approach. We all get what a burden this is for your family. And your concerns for her safety and lifestyle are valid. The correct approach would have been to start having conversations with her about what she hopes to get out of gymnastics. Explain that her body is changing and she should talk to her coach about what options there are for her in the sport. As a parent, ask the coach about her injury risk and have the coach on board with modifying techniques and expectations. If her height really is becoming a barrier, your daughter will figure this out for herself very quickly when she starts struggling, losing, and not able to keep up with her peers. At 12, she likely only has another year or two before the realization that she is not Olympic material kicks in. And if that doesn't happen, then let her keep going. Nah, I don't think the people commenting YTA understand what it takes to be an elite gymnast. Being too tall is a deal breaker. You're in a tough place and your daughter is at an age where emotions are so strong. But I think you're doing the right thing. Info. Have you considered or offered a pivot to an adjacent sport that could leverage her gymnastic experience, like diving, pole vaulting, hurdles, snowboarding, skiing?
NTA. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.